Seattle, the storm is building. The energy's off, the city feels it. One loss can't turn into two. The Seahawks are standing at a breaking point, and everything, their rhythm, their fire, their identity, is on the line. But deep inside this locker room, something is changing. The fans can feel it. This isn't just about one game. It's about saving the season. The mood in Seattle right now feels tense, like the calm before a storm. The Seahawks just hit a wall, and the question hanging in the air is simple. Can they flip the switch before it's too late? This team has always been about resilience, fighting through the noise, the doubt, the tough losses. And right now, the Seahawks need that fire more than ever. One loss? Fine. But letting that loss turn into two, into three, that's how seasons fall apart. That's how the spark dies. And Seattle fans know better than to let that happen again. Now, everyone's talking about that late-night shocker, the Greg Newsome trade. Out of nowhere, the Cleveland Browns sent their star corner to Jacksonville. And the timing? Wild. The Jaguars just lost one of their starting corners. And now they're throwing a new guy into the mix just days before facing Seattle. Think about that. Newsome doesn't know the playbook. He doesn't know the calls, the chemistry, or the system. He's walking into chaos. So, while the headlines might sound dramatic, Jaguars land new corner. In reality, that move might actually help Seattle's offense. Because now, guys like Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and the rest of the Seahawks receiving crew could feast. When you're facing backups in the secondary, it's open season for a quarterback like Sam Darnold. And yes, it's time to talk about him. Let's be real. Darnold has been fantastic for Seattle. You can question his past all you want, but right now he's playing like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's calm, confident, and commanding this offense in a way that feels new, like he's finally found his home. Sure, there have been a few late-game hiccups. A fumble here, a tipped ball there, but watch the tape closely. Not every turnover's on him. Sometimes the offensive line breaks. Sometimes it's just bad luck. What matters most is that Darnold keeps fighting. That leadership, that confidence, it's contagious. You can feel it spreading through the team. And if you ask me, Seattle finally found their guy, their franchise QB, the man who could lead this team for the next 5 or 6 years. Now, when it comes to improving the roster, don't expect any big-name free agents walking through that door. The real action might come through trades. Seattle's front office is watching teams like the Saints, Panthers, and maybe even the Browns, all potentially looking to move players. The Seahawks could swoop in for an offensive lineman or even another defensive piece to strengthen this run. But let's be honest, every fan's dream move would be one man, Max Crosby. If Vegas ever put him on the trade block, John Schneider would be on the phone immediately. But that dream probably stays a dream. Crosby's the face of the Raiders, and unless he demands out, he's not going anywhere. If Seattle wants a game-changing edge rusher, someone like Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati might be the realistic target. The kind of move that would shake up the defense and give them that killer instinct again. Because let's face it, when the defense is healthy, Seattle is dangerous. But when injuries pile up, especially in the secondary, this team loses its edge. You saw it last Sunday. Without their key starters, the defense looked vulnerable. The formula is simple. Stay healthy, stay aggressive, and trust the system. This Seahawks team still has the pieces to make a serious run, but it starts with belief. The kind of belief that turns frustration into fire. When the Seahawks are healthy, they look like a team that could take down anyone in the league. But when the injuries start piling up, everything changes. The defense goes from powerful to powerless, from fearless to fragile. That's what happens when great players are forced to sit. And in the NFL, there aren't many truly great players to begin with. When those stars are out, when the secondary loses its leaders, the cracks begin to show. You start to see missed tackles, blown coverages, and breakdowns that turn into game-changing plays. But here's the good news for Seahawks fans. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Julian Love? He's getting close. Every report points to him returning sooner rather than later. Devin Witherspoon? The hope is he's back this week. If he practices Thursday and Friday, there's no reason he shouldn't suit up on Sunday. That's huge. Because when Witherspoon and Love are both on the field, Seattle's defense plays with swagger again. Now, this isn't just a Seattle problem. Look around the league. Baltimore, Miami, even powerhouse teams are struggling because of injuries. It's part of the grind. But if Seattle wants to stay in the playoff race, they've got to heal fast. If they can get even one or two starters back, that could change everything. And if DeMarcus Lawrence returns soon, that could be the key. He brings that pass rush power, the kind that hides defensive flaws. When your front seven gets pressure, your corners can breathe again. But until then, the only mission is simple: get healthy and get healthy now. Now, let's talk about a question that had fans split down the middle: Riq Woolen. Trade rumors have been floating around, but after what we saw against Tampa Bay, one thing is clear: Seattle cannot afford to lose him. 2 weeks ago, it might have made sense. The secondary looked deep, and guys like Darian Kendrick and Josh Jobe were exceeding expectations. But football changes fast. Nehemiah Pritchett got his shot. And it wasn't it. He struggled in coverage, and the defense felt shaky without Woolen's presence. Even Jobe took a small step back, not bad but not elite like before. The absence of Julian Love and Devin Witherspoon was felt everywhere. That's why Woolen matters. He's not perfect, but right now he's necessary. Without him, that corner spot becomes a major problem. And with this many injuries, Seattle can't risk trading away another piece of their foundation. As for Anthony Bradford, fans are starting to lose patience. He's been the weak link up front, the one spot opponents keep targeting. Yes, he's made progress from last year, but in pass protection, it's still rough. Charles Cross and Abe Lucas have held their ground beautifully on the edges, and Gray's Abel has been a bright spot. But Bradford? Still inconsistent. In the run game, he's solid. In pass pro, he's a liability. And that's what makes the offense stall when it matters most. Maybe you can't trade him now, but it's becoming clear that Seattle has to start planning for that position long-term. Right now, this team is standing on the edge. One side is the playoffs, the other is a slide no fan wants to see again. The only way out is through getting healthy, cleaning up mistakes, and believing in each other again. Because when this team's at full strength, they can hang with anyone. The clock is ticking in Seattle. The trade deadline is closing in fast. And if John Schneider wants to make a move, the time is now. No more waiting. No more hesitation. Every minute that passes could be the difference between keeping this team alive or watching it fade in November. Let's be real. If the Seahawks decide to move Anthony Bradford, it won't bring in much. Maybe a 6th or 7th round pick at best. That's the cold truth. So if Schneider pulls that trigger, he better have something bigger planned. Because trading away a starter only makes sense if you already have someone better lined up to replace him. Right now, Bradford is the best they've got, flaws and all. And that's why the offensive line has become the heart of this story. Seattle's future depends on it. If they can dominate up front, if that O-line can create space and protect Darnold, this team can win almost any matchup. And honestly, they're starting to look better each week. Kenneth Walker's last performance proved it. Averaging over 8 yards per carry? That's domination. That's what happens when the line actually gets push. But what really stands out is the passing game. Jackson Smith-Njigba continues to grow into a star, taking massive steps forward every week. He's not just good, he's becoming a nightmare for defenders. And how about A.J. Barner? The guy's quietly turned into one of the best red zone weapons in football. More touchdowns than any rookie tight end, even Brock Bowers. That's saying something. Tory Horton keeps flashing potential with big-time plays when the offense needs a spark. And Cooper Kupp, Yakima's own, he's Mr. Reliable. Every third down, every big moment, you can count on him to make the catch. The Seahawks offense is building something special. But they've got to protect the football. Against Jacksonville, turnovers could be deadly. The Jaguars love to take risks and capitalize on mistakes. That's their identity. So this game, it's about control. Smart decisions. No gifts to the other team. Now, if Schneider really wants to shake things up before the deadline, he's got a few dream options. Centers like Aaron Brewer from Miami or Eric McCoy from New Orleans could completely change the offense. Those are the kind of moves that shift the season's momentum. You bring one of those guys in and suddenly Darnold's got more time. The run game opens up. Everything clicks. If not them, Cleveland might have guards on the market, Wyatt Teller or Joel Bitonio. Bitonio's still elite but aging, and Seattle isn't one piece away from a Super Bowl yet. Teller, though, he's younger, powerful, and still a top 20 guard in the league. That's the kind of move that could stabilize the line for years. And on defense, things are just as critical. When Tampa Bay attacked Seattle last week, they used an extra tight end and running backs to block, giving Baker Mayfield all day to throw deep. It worked. Now the question is, will the Jaguars copy that plan? If they do, Seattle needs to adjust fast. Defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald admitted he didn't have a great counter last time. This week, it's about aggression. Bring the blitz. Speed up Trevor Lawrence. Force him into mistakes. He's already thrown 5 picks this season, and when he tries to play hero ball, that's when he crumbles. This defense still has teeth, but it's got to be smarter, faster, and healthier. If Seattle can blend that aggression with discipline, they'll make Lawrence uncomfortable and take control of this game. And before we move on, let's talk about one more bright spot. Rookie wideout Tory Horton. The question came up, does he really have the potential to be great? Well, Seattle's offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak didn't hesitate when asked who Horton reminds him of. He paused, thought for a second, and said just one name, Justin Jefferson. That's not hype. That's a statement. If Horton keeps grinding, the Seahawks might already have their next star in the making. Every once in a while, a young player flashes something. A spark that makes you believe you're watching the start of something special. That's where Tory Horton is right now for the Seattle Seahawks. Not a star yet, not perfect, but you can feel it, that quiet fire waiting to explode. Now let's be real. Comparing Tory Horton to Justin Jefferson? No, that's not fair. Jefferson is a generational wide receiver, one of the best route runners this league has ever seen. But here's the thing. The potential is there. And if Horton keeps buying in, keeps learning, keeps grinding, he could become a real force in this league. He's got the tools, the speed, the quickness, the hands. You can't teach those things. But what separates the great ones, guys like Jefferson, Chase, and even Chad Johnson back in the day, is football IQ. It's not just about running the route that's drawn up on the paper. It's about feeling the game, knowing when to break off a route, when to find open space, when to adjust before your quarterback even says a word. That's what makes Jefferson elite. That's what made Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes unstoppable, that unspoken connection. Kelce hasn't run a called route in years. He just finds the soft spot, and Mahomes trusts him to be there. That's chemistry built on instinct, trust, and hours of work that nobody sees. And Horton? He's not there yet. Right now, when the play call says 5-yard slant, he runs exactly 5. Nothing more, nothing less. But that's how it starts. Every great receiver begins by mastering the small things. Once that football IQ catches up, once he and Sam Darnold start seeing the same picture, that's when it happens. That's when he explodes. So yeah, maybe the Jefferson comparison isn't fair. But maybe, just maybe, it's a glimpse of what could be. Because if Tory Horton keeps growing like this, Seattle might have found its next star wideout. A future leader who changes games when everything's on the line. Now let's talk about what's ahead. Seattle versus Jacksonville. It's an early kick, 10 a.m., and it's going to be a grind. The Jaguars are sitting at 4-1, hot and confident. Seattle's at 3-2, but honestly, they could easily be 5-0. They've been right there in every game, 1 or 2 plays away from perfection. Still, the injury report is brutal. 10 names deep, and most of them, defensive players. That's a nightmare heading into a matchup with Trevor Lawrence. Jarran Reed's expected to play, but a lot of these guys are banged up, and even if they suit up, they're far from 100%. This defense has been exposed once already, especially against Baker Mayfield last week. They can't afford a repeat. That's why the offense might have to carry the weight again. Darnold, Walker, JSN, Horton, this is their moment. If they can light up the scoreboard early, they can control this game. If not, Jacksonville will smell blood. On the bright side, head coach Mike Macdonald is still 9-1 on the road. He knows how to prepare his team in hostile environments. But this one's going to test everything: depth, discipline, heart. So here we are, week 6. Seattle versus Jacksonville. The odds? They're shifting back and forth. Some say Jacksonville should be favored. Some say Seattle. But I'll tell you this, if the Seahawks' young stars step up, if that offense clicks again, they can win this game. And as for me, I'm rolling with Seattle. I've got the Seahawks pulling out a close one, 24-21. But it's going to take everything they've got.